First of all, I'll go into my XAMPP folder. Remember that our XAMPP folder is comprised, we'll look for our htdocs. And then in here, I'll create a folder called user. And then in here, I'll open it and then right click open in terminal and click on code dot to open this code in VS Code. So over here, I am in VS Code now. In VS Code, I need to create my files. Okay, so the idea of our project is this, that we would have a project plan. Okay, so over here, our project is going to have this. We'll have a page in which someone will log in. We'll have a page in which someone will come and register. The login page will have a login button for username, one for password, and then we'll have another one for the submit button or the login button over here. Also, we will have our registration page, whereby in our registration page, we'll have the person's username, the person's email address, the person's password, and then we'll confirm if your password is correct, and then we'll log the person into our application. So over here, we'll have a place, an area where we can register the person. So register over here. So this is how our interface is going to be structured out. Now, once you register, then you can log in. So when you register, the information you use to register allows you, the individual, to go into our database. So you will be able to go into our database to see the information that is over there. So before we do anything, we must design our database. So I will go and click on my browser. In my browser, I will type localhost/php my admin. Now you can see that my localhost/php admin told me that I cannot reach the page, which means I cannot reach my server, which means that my XAMPP is not on. So I'll quickly go and open my XAMPP control panel. And then start my Apache and start my MySQL. And once these two things are started and they are working, when I go back to my browser and I refresh, if I type localhost/phpMyAdmin, one word, you can see that now it is going to open up for me so that I can have access to my server and my database. Let's give it 1 second to come right now. Perfect. Now in here, I am going to create a database. We have seen this. We have seen how we create a database. I'll click on new, and then in here, I'll type the database name in which I want. So the database name in which I want for this is user DB. And I'll click on create. So I've created my database. And then in here, I'm going to create a table called users. Now, in this table called users, I'm going to have the following fields. Number one, ID is going to be auto increment. Number two, username is going to be a varchar, which is going to be 50. Over here, I'm going to have his email, which is going to be a varchar, which is going to be around 100. Over here, I'm going to have a password, which is going to be varchar, which is going to be 255. Then finally, I need one more thing. So in here, I'll just go to the add at the top here and click on go. And you can see I've added one more thing here. And in here, I'm going to create art. So create underscore art. And here is going to be a date and time stamp. And I'm going to tell the computer to use the current date and time stamp. Very important. So that every time something is created, whatever time that the server has will be automatically added for me so that I will know each time the person does it. And the reason why I would want to use this time is because maybe someone is in America, maybe someone is in Ghana. Whenever you create, the time that is on my server is the time that will be used so that every time we are all even and we are all using the same time. We are all on the same wavelength. When I'm done, I'll just click on create. Just a recap, I need ID, which is going to be an auto increment, a primary key, and then an integer. Username is varchar50. Email is varchar100. Password is varchar255 because I'll be encrypting it. And then the date in which the person was created would be a date and timestamp. But I'll take the current time in from the server. When I'm done, I'll just click on save. And now I have created a new table in my database called UserDB. So I am done with the database stuff. So I can close this. Now I can come into my code section over here. In here, my application is going to be structured in a way whereby the person can do their username and password. But every application needs an index page. So I'm going to create my index page. So here I'll click here, and then I have index.php. And my index page is going to be quite simple. I'll just have the basic structure of a HTML page. And then in here, I would say using a p tag, using an anchor tag. Here would be login. Then I'll do a nice line here. And over here would be register. Okay. Now over here, I'm going to see href. So hyperreference. And I'm referencing to a page called login.php. And over here too, I would say hyperreference, and I'm pointing it to a page called register.php. Now, once I've done that, it means that on my page, so when I come to my browser, over here I type localhost, and then in here I type localhost/user. I'll see that I have login here and registration here. So that when someone clicks this, you go to login, and when he clicks this, you go to register. Of course, I haven't created those pages here. So you can see that when it goes there, it gives me a broken link. Whenever you click on something and it doesn't open, either it is not there or there is no connection. So in my case, it is not there. I haven't created them yet. When we are building something for someone, normally that page would be a landing page. You know that sometimes you have a site, you go, then you'll be showcasing their product, then they'll tell you, click here to log in or click here to register. Sometimes the index page would be the login page because the moment you get there, you are just logging in. So it depends on how you want to build your application. It depends on how you want to craft your site. Do you want a landing page? What do you want? In my case, I want a small landing page that a person can choose either if you want to log in or register. Now, if you want to log in, then I need to create a page. So I'll go to File, and then I'll type in login.php. And then in here, I have a page that you can go to log into your application. I have to design the interface for it. Of course, I'll use the basic structure of the HTML page to design the basics of it. Over here, the title of the page is going to be login. And then in here, I'm going to start typing in the code for the user to log in into the application. Of course, I have to give the user a certain idea of what they are doing. A certain idea of what they are doing. Before I do that, before I do the login, let me do registration first. So I have registration.php so that someone can register, and based on what they have registered, we'll use that person to log in. That will make more sense, so that I don't have to go and create any user in the system. So let me make the writings on the screen a bit bigger for you. So let me change this to, let's say, 25. And then over here, I can start writing my code. So for register. Again, I need a basic structure of the HTML page. The title of the page is going to be register. And then in here, I need a title for my page. So I'm going to use a H2 to tell people who come to this page that they are in the registration page. Okay? And then after that, I need to tell whoever who is here that he wants to register. So I need a form. So form, and then the method of the form is going to be post, since the information there is sensitive. And then the action of my form is going to be nothing, so that it remains on that page. Now, for my code, I'm going to need an input. The type of input I'm going to need is text. And then the name property, very important, is going to be username. And then it is going to be a required field, so that every time someone will have to type something over there, and then I'm going to close it off here. And then I'll add a BR over here so that it will move to a new line. Just so that my code will look a bit professional, I would add a label to this. So here I'll say label. And then over here, I would say the label is what? Username, so that the person knows that he's typing his username. I'll copy this. And then I'll paste it here, paste it here, paste it here again. So that over here, I'll change this portion here. I'll change these portions here. Because the information here would be email, I'll just put in here email. Over here, I'll change the information here, because the individual will have to type in their password. Now, their password. Now, over here, it is going to be the confirmation of the password. So I'll use the same thing, but over here, I'll just add the word confirm password, so that the individual can confirm his or her password. Okay? Confirm his or her password. Okay, so now I have these things here. Confirm password here. I have to use
the confirm.
Oh, sorry, CN. Thank you. Perfect. So confirm password. Good. Remember, the name over here are system names, so they have to be one word. So you can see that I use an underscore here. But over here, I didn't, because it is going to be displayed. So there is no need for me to bother about that. Now, at the bottom here, I'm going to do an A tag, a P tag that says already have an account. And then over here, I'm going to bring a question mark, an A tag, and then in here, I'll say login here. Then here, I'll have a href here that points to login.what.php. You see, the reason we did basic web is because these things here should be simple to you now. These things here should not be things in which I have to explain to you now. These things here are things in which you should know, so that we can just add the PHP section. Everything we've done so far, we've created a database, we have just created an interface so that when someone comes onto our page, so someone comes here and he clicks on this, he can come to registration page over here. So when you are here, you click here, you are in registration. If you have already registered and you click here, then you go to login. But there is nothing in our login. We haven't created a login code yet. To make life easier for us, what I can do is I can copy all of these things here. I can bring all of them to login. Of course, we are not in registration anymore. I am in login. So I will be login. And then over here, it is not I already have an account, because I don't already have an account, but rather I don't have an account. So don't have an account, don't have an account, have an account, then I need to create an account. So over here, I'll have to go to the registration page. So here I would register here. So I'll click here to go to register. Of course, for registration, all I need is the password and then the username. I don't need all of these things here. Now, once we have done this, I will realize that on our page, on both of our pages, when I come here, so when I refresh this, I have this. When I click here, I go here. When someone fills his username here, let's say your username is YOLO, and your email is yolo@gmail.com, and your password is YOLO, and your confirm password YOLO. Where is the button for me to click? There is no button for me to click to register you. In the login, there's no button there. So I have to add a button there. You see, everything you do is not just done. There must be a logical reason why you need to do it. So in here, in the registration page, over here, I'll just add another input. The type of input is for submission, so submit. And then the value of the input is going to be register. And then the name of the input is going to be register. Perfect. So that when I come in here and I want to create a particular user, so let me go here. So register. I want to register someone. I have a button here to click on so that I can register the person when I am done. Same, I'll create a page for the login so that over here the person can know that he or she has to what? Log in. Perfect. So now I have designed my interfaces. Now I must connect this interface in which I have designed to this database table that is here. Here is where the course begins. Here is where today's class begins. First thing I have to do is understand something. Number one, the code I have here is in HTML. Number two, the code I have here is in SQL. So in the database, the way I communicate is in SQL. I can't communicate with this. There is no way this and this can communicate together. That is the job of the server-side language, to take information from the client and hand it over to their database. Now, with that piece of knowledge in mind, over here in my code, I'm going to go to the sidebar here, create a new folder in which I'm going to call this folder db connect. So db_connect.php. db_connect.php has a very important role to play. In here, I'm going to create something called the connections to the database. I need to connect to the database. And it is here that I'll write all the code that will help my page connect to the database. In order for you to connect to the database, you require some things. There is some information you require. What information do you require? You require the host. The host. Who is hosting your application? In our case, our host is localhost. You require the username of the database. So the database, in order for you to use every database, there has to be a username and a password so that not everybody can have access to it. Who is the user who has access to your database? In our database, the user is still the default user, that is root. Who is the what is the password to? So what is the password to the database? The database you have created, what is the password to it? The password to my database is nothing. Key point, over here, if I make a space here, it means the password to my database is space. If the two things are together, it means it is nothing. We haven't set any password. So the password at this moment is nothing. What is the name of the database that you want to access? The name of the database I want to access is UserDB. So any system in the world that has to do with internet that has been built on PHP, the moment I have these four things, I can connect to the database at will. Now, these four things are the things in which I need. What is actually going to do this connection? What is actually going to create this connection? What is actually going to manifest this connection? What's actually going to take these things and create the connection for me? So I'm going to write my SQLi underscore connect. Now, this is the piece of code that does the connection to the database for me. In here, I'm going to write the things that it requires. It requires the host in which we have saved. It requires the username to the database. It requires the password to the database. And it also requires the database in which I want to access. So I have just given it all the things in which it requires. It is in that order. You can't just mix up the order. Now, once all of this information has been done, I'll tell the computer that give it to a variable I'm calling con. So this is the connection to the database, and once it is done, it is given to this. So it means that every time I mention con, I am mentioning the connection to the database. Now, let's come back. Are there any questions before I go on? Now, let's come to our register page. In here, I'm going to type my PHP code at the top, so I'll need my PHP tags. Now, in here, I'm going to type the following code. I'm going to ask the computer to include the code from db underscore connect.php. So what have I done here? I've just told the computer that all the code I have here, make sure you include it on this page. I'm done. So it means that every page, the connection to the database has to be there. If there's going to be database back and forth or database communication. Now, if I have to write this code here, so let's say on this page, I have to do this. Then on the other page, I have to do it again. It becomes laborious. If the database source changes, because here I'm in localhost, so I'm on my computer. If I leave my computer to go to a particular server, it means that the name over here also has to what? Change. That is not possible. So for us to be safe, we normally create the database connection in one file, and then just include it wherever we need to include it. Now, in here, I've included it on my page. It means that on this page, there is a database connection. Then I'm going to ask the computer to do two things. Error is equal to nothing. So over here, I've created a variable called error, and it's equal to nothing. And then success is also equal to nothing. So I've created another variable called success, and that is also equal to nothing. Now, if the server I am on, so $_server, has made a request. So here it has made a request. And the request it made is a post. Then I should do all the things in here. Remember, we said that our code is going to have the method post. So it means when I click on the submit button and I send all of this information, I'm sending it as a post to the file I am on. So on the file I am on, I'm telling the computer that if a method request has been made and it is a post, then you are supposed to do some things here. What are you supposed to do? You are supposed to create a variable. So I have username, and it is equal to $_post. And then in here, what am I collecting? I'm collecting username. Now, what does this mean again? We've looked at this, but what does it mean? Over here, the name property here is username. That means that when I click on the submit button and this information is taken away, it is taken away and stored for the username field. I mean, what you type over here. So when I type the YOLO over here, this YOLO is stored in a location called username. So I'm telling the computer that go to the location that you have stored things and pick what is saved in the location called username. Also, I'll tell the computer that go and pick the thing stored in the location go and pick the thing stored in the location called email. I'll also tell the computer that go and pick the thing stored in the location called password. And I'll also tell the computer, go and pick the thing stored in the location called confirm_password. Because for all of those items, remember, I gave them the name, username, email, password, and here is what? Confirm password. So I've gone for all the things in which the user has put in the application. This is insecure. This is not secure. If someone wants to do SQL injection or someone wants to attack me, he can attack me because I'm just picking the information he has typed in raw like that, and I'm putting it in my variable. So to make it safe, the first thing I can do is that I can tell the computer that MySQL, the I is very important, underscore real underscore escape string. Now, escape string takes two things. It takes your connection to the database, and then it takes the thing that you want to check. So I want to check post username like this. Now, what I have done over here is that I've told the computer, go and take what the person has typed, and then make sure that it is clean. There is no escape words. There is nothing nefarious. There is nothing in which the person has injected to come and spoil me or hack me or something. Make sure that the thing the person has typed is clean. And if it is not clean, sanitize it and make it clean. And when you are done, put it over here. So I can just take it and put it here directly, or I can clean it. Now, this makes it more secure. This makes it more relevant. I can do the same for all the other ones. So I'll just take this, and then I can close the bracket over here. So it means that now all my information would be cleaned using MySQL underscore real underscore escape underscore string. So at this stage of my code, I have just gone to take all the things in which the person has in his form. The form that he has, everything that is there, I have just gone for it. Now I have to check if some things have been done. So if empty into bracket username or empty into bracket email or empty into bracket password or empty into bracket confirm password. So over here, I'm looking at the scenario whereby if a particular user, 1 second, so bracket here, okay, there's a bracket over here. So if the user didn't enter something in username, or didn't enter something in email, or didn't enter something in password, or didn't enter something in confirm password. So technically, if you enter something here, here, and forgot this one, you are still caught over here. If the user did all of those things, that means if the user didn't type anything and just clicked on the button, we'll tell the user error is equal to all fields are required. So in here, if a particular user does not type anything in any of the fields, we'll immediately tell you that all fields are required. Also, so else if, and we can see here the if and conditional statements in use, in proper use. So if we leave here and come here, it means that you type something in all of this. But if the password you typed is not equal to the confirmation password in which you typed, then we need to tell you that there is an error which is equal to passwords do not match. Now, if here is okay and here is okay, then else we can do what we need to do. If everything is okay, then now we can do what we need to do. We can perform the actions we need to perform. So what actions do we need to perform? We are going to, number one, check if the username and password, the email address and username has been used by somebody. So over here, I need to write an SQL query. So $query is equal to select all from the users table where the username is equal to, in single quotes, very important, $username. With the SQL statement, you dare not make an error. Because if there is even a single error, a single dot that is not supposed to be where it is supposed to be, it will not work in your database. So your SQL statement has to be impeccable. Or the email address that a person has typed is equal to that. So in this statement here, I'm telling the computer, and SQL is one of those programming languages which are as similar as human languages as possible. So select star. Star stands for all. So select all from the users table. So it means that I want to select every single thing here. Anything that is saved in all of these things, I want you to go and select it. Where the username is equal to that, or the password is equal to that. So if this is the case, whenever you have typed a particular email or you have typed a particular password, if you are found, then we will select you and bring you. So this is the statement that has to be run in the database. Now I need to go and run the statement in the database. So I would say my SQL I underscore query. And my SQL underscore query takes two things. Number one, it takes the connection to the database in which we have created already and called con. And then we have the statement I want to run, in which I saved in a variable called query. So now this statement has gone to the database and run. If it runs, we will save it inside a variable we are calling result. So whatever this one went to run and do, we are going to save its result over here in a variable called result. Now, if my SQL I underscore num underscore rows, and then in here I'll put the result, is greater than 0, then we should come here. So if the result that you got, if you count it and it is more than 0, you see that when you're in a database, for example, when I'm here and I run this, you can see that at the top here, it tells me database is empty, 0 rows. So when you apply the, and you can see it says select star from users. So when you apply this, it tells you if there are 0 rows or 1 row or 1,000 rows or 2 rows or 3,000 rows, it tells you. So we are saying that if here is more than 0 rows, then somebody is there. Somebody has already created his username and password. Somebody has a username and password already in our system. So we should tell the person that, hey, you can't create another account. Your username or email address already exists. So you can't create another account. It's not possible for you. Now, if that is not the case, so I have an else over here. If that is not the case, then we need to encrypt the password in which you gave us. So hashed password underscore password is equal to password underscore hash into brackets. And then we'll just put your password over here. Now, note, password hash is an encryption algorithm. So it will help us to encrypt your password. And then the format we are using is the password. So you can see that there are various password algorithms over here for encrypting your password, making your password sophisticated so that nobody can know what your password is. But we will be using just the password underscore default. So whatever default encryption which is available to us, we would use that default encryption to hash our password. And then after we have hashed the password, we can now move the things into the database. by typing our query statement. So I have my query statement again. So query is equal to insert. So this is an SQL statement into users, into brackets, username, comma, email, comma, password. You can see that I am not entering the ID. The ID is auto increment. I'm not entering the date created. The date created is handled by the server. Whatever time the server is, that will be what is there. All I need to do is enter your username, email, and password, and the rest will be taken care for me. I'm telling the computer, go and insert into the table called users. And what are you inserting? You are inserting username, email, and password. And what values do you want me to insert? So the values. So it means that whatever I put in here first, second, and third will belong to, so the first thing here will come for this one, the second thing here will come for this one, and the third thing here will come for this one. The first thing is my username in which we saved. The second thing over here is the email in which we saved. The third thing is supposed to be the password, but we have encrypted the password and we save the encryption into hashed password. So over here, it will be over here like this. Now, if this is the statement, now I must run the statement. And remember, if you need to run a statement into the database, then we have to create maybe result is equal to MySQL let's not forget that, query. So this is how I can ask the database questions. And then it needs two things. It needs the connection to the database, and then it needs the query that I am trying to go and ask in the database. And then if the result is done, because this one, when it runs, it tells you true or false. I did it, I was not able to do it. So if it is able to be done, then we can save in the variable success that we created at the top, that registration successful. Done. If it is not successful, then we will say else error. Registration unsuccessful. With this, I have finished my code. I've walked through my code. But I'm not done with my code, because over here, I have an error here, I have a success message here, I have these things here, but I have to showcase them to the person. So where will I showcase them? I'll put them under the registration button or the registration title over here. So under here, I'll create a PHP tag. Remember, PHP is embedded. So every place you want it, you just put the PHP tag over there and say if $error. So if $error has a value, if there is something in $error, then we need to echo in a p tag. So in this case, we are doing the first things in which we did, whereby I am putting the HTML inside the inside the PHP. And then here, I'll put in error over here. Wonderful. Now, in the other round, I'll just do this. And then here, I'll put in success. But here, success is not red. It's supposed to be what? Green. So with that, my program is done. I can come here. We can see that my database is empty. I come here, I refresh my page. Over here, my username is YOLO. My email address is YOLO at gmail.com. Over here, my password is YOLO, and my confirmed password is YOLO. And then when I click on this, it tells me that my registration is successful. When I go to my database, let me collapse this one, and then let me zoom in a bit so that when I refresh the page, so I run the query, select everything from my data, my table users, it tells me that I have one item found, and I can see ID1, username YOLO, email address YOLO.com. The password, you can see that it is encrypted. So even if I come here and I want to see your password, I can't see this thing here. What is it? I don't know what it is. I've encrypted the password. So even I don't know what password you are using. And then, of course, the date. You can see that the date and time on my computer is what has been taken over here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the process that I would go to log or to register someone into my application. Next week, when we come, we'll do the entire process to register someone, to log someone into our application. So now we have done the registration. When we come next week, we'll focus on the login and the dashboard. How do we log someone in, then we control, how do we do all of those things? I highly, highly, highly advise you to go home and practice these things. Watch the video over and over again and see if you can achieve it. During the week, let me know if you have any issue, if you have any problem, let me know so that we can get these things working. It's very important that you know how to log in, how to register, how to create a dashboard, how to fill it with information, how to put things into the database. It is very important we learn how to do that. So we need to learn how to do that. And it involves a lot of things. It involves some HTML, some CSS, some JavaScript, which we'll be doing in the future, some PHP, some SQL. You can see that all of them are coming together. Everything in which we've learned is coming together. That means if you are not someone who is practicing, if you are not someone who is dedicating time, things will become hard for you. And I don't want it to be so. The video will be made available for you after the class. If there are no questions, we'll bring the class to an end here.
I have a question.
What's your question?
Okay. So please, can we go back on the page, the code?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So following, I've noticed that the db.connect.php file is only linked to the register file. It means that, is it to say we are only working with the register now and it doesn't affect the index and then the login?
The DB, I think you are looking at it from a wrong perspective. The DB_connect is the connection string to the database. That means that every single page that you would have to connect to the database, it should be there.
Okay, that so are we doing for each of them, or once we have created it, it automatically connects to all the other pages?
Okay, so you see that at the top of this page here, we said that include this page onto this page. Do you see that?
Okay.
So it means that on this page here, what we have done is we have taken the code over here, and then we have moved it from here and come and put it over here.
Okay.
So the moment we say include, it means we have done all of this on this page. Do you understand?
Okay.
So it means that every page in which we are on, technically, we are creating everything again. But in order for us not to be typing this all the time, we'll just tell the computer, include this code, and then on this page, we'll just come and write it there.
Okay. Okay. And then the second question is, on the same code, I noticed in some circumstances, in some writings, you use caps, and in some cases, you use lower cases. When do we use caps and when do we use the lower cases?
Okay, so when we are writing SQL statements like this, you can see that select from where or values insert into their all capital letters because it is the
Yes.
convention they are in. So that is how they say that is the format of the SQL statement. So that is the format they come in. So users like this, username,
Mhm.
email, that is me, the person designing the system, said that
Okay.
my ID is in small letters, my username is in small letters, my email is in small letters. The name of my table is in small letters. You can see that my table is small letters users. So I can't then go on over here and say capital letters users like this.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can't go and say this because I said that it is in small letters. The select star from that one, it is from a keyword from the SQL, so it has to be in capital letters. That one there. But any other thing that apart from the keywords, select from where into those things, they can be in small letters. If you wrote small letters, so it means that if this username here, I wrote capital U, I have to make sure it is capital U. That is why I always advise that when you're giving variable names and you're naming things, always use small letters because it saves you the headache of thinking, this one, did I make it capital? Did I make it small? You just know it's a small letter. So in your mind, you just make everything small letters.
Okay. And then my third question,
Mm-hmm,
sorry, um, on the same registration page,
mm-hmm,
for instance, let's bring it back to real life or our daily lives. When you are
mm-hmm,
logging in or registering on the platform for the first time,
mm-hmm,
now there are lots of security checks. Like,
mm-hmm,
for instance, they include the multi-factor authentication
mm-hmm,
and all that. So in this case, where would it have it? Where would it fall? Because this is a registration page.
mm-hmm. Multi-factor authentication will not fall on registration. It will fall on login. That's number one.
It will fall on.
It will fall in login.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh,
like after you have registered, when you want to log in, then we'll check the authentication from there.
oh, okay. Okay.
So you will not check authentication from the person is registering. So what are you checking? The second thing is that over here in success, here, I have made it small by saying success and then I've left it like this. But over here, we can put in code to send you a confirmation to your email so that
Okay.
you would confirm your email. So over here, to be honest with you, over here, where I've just done the lines here, over here is where you would send the person. Let's say you want to send the person welcome to your system, like a text message. Here's where you put it. Let's say you want to send an email so that when he creates the account, he has to open the email, click on something to confirm that it is really him. Things like that. It is here you put it. So here's where you put the email code to send an email. So you say, for example, you say mail to, then you'd write your mail to code over here on how you want to mail something to someone and things like that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions, please?
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Okay, so I realized the db_connect file contains sensitive information, right? So usually, if, for instance, if let's say I'm concerned about the file permission, like on that specific file, right? In the sense that if someone should do maybe a directory brute force, right, on your web server and should actually find that db_connect.php file existing, right, returning with a status code of 200. Can users be able to actually navigate to that page and then read the content of the file using maybe a web proxy like Bedfuse or something? I don't know. I'm just concerned about that permission of that file. Are there ways to protect it from me, the front end users from me, and actually manipulating it or actually viewing the data in there? That's my concern.
There are lots of ways you can protect yourself from someone getting access to that file. Sometimes what people do is that the information here, the information you have over here, is not saved in the PHP file. It's saved in the text file. And then the PHP file has to interpret the text file to get access to the data to use. So if you come here and you get this information here, it will not include the words written directly. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do, you would have to have this line of code here. It's not even a matter of PHP, but every single application you have, in order to connect to the database, you would have to have a connection string. For example, over here, I have an application in VB, a class in which I taught before your class. You know? And over there, we were connecting to an Access database just so that we can get ourselves familiarized with databases and all of that. And you can see that over here, this is the connection string to the Access. You see that? And then once you do your connection string, you would have to run it, just like you did in PHP. To be honest with you, every single application, you would have to have a connection string. It is upon you, the developer, then to protect these 4 lines of code. Because to be honest with you, if I have these 4 lines of code over here, if I know your host, your username, your password, and the database name, I'm in. So how you protect it, if you hide it, some people will put this in a folder, in another folder, and how to get access to it is impossible. Or you create a text file, use this page to load the text file, read it, and then pick the data from the text file, things like that. There are ways in which you go about protecting it. But for our lessons, you have to type these things to connect to the database. Any more questions? Any more questions, please? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
please.
Okay. So any more questions, please? Please go over, make sure you go over, you understand what was done today, because there was a lot of things done today. So make sure you go over everything. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you all for appearing here today. We'll meet again next week.
Thank you.